Now, I think there's a time, I better just move a little bit ahead here. That evening, I dine at the Western Sizzler along the highway on the other side of town. I get talking to two high school girls, Christina and Samantha. Apart from being the place where the great Scopes trial was held, Dayton has one other distinction. For reasons which no one understands, more people are killed on its short stretch of railway track than on any other in the United States. The most recent victim was a boy, a high school honor student, no history of drugs, a mystery. Both Christina and Samantha knew him, but not well. Samantha's father, an uncle, died by train, the father a suicide. Christina is a Pentecostal and sees the suicides in that light. She tells me about speaking in tongues. You have to open yourself to the Lord and let him come in you, speak through you. I had a friend who took all kinds of drugs, liked them, but she said speaking in tongues was the best high she ever had. Samantha, who admits she's been through a bad phase, catches my eye and winks as if to say, yeah, right. I go back to the hotel and call Denise. My wife, incidentally, is Brazilian. I tell her how I've managed to miss the reenactment. She is silent for a moment. I can imagine her in our apartment overlooking the East River, but I cannot quite imagine the expression on her face. Is she concerned, as I am, that I am losing my mind? This is incredible, Matthew, she says, and I think I can hear her smiling. No, it is, I say. As we say in Brazil, it looks like you've stepped on the ball here. This is a soccer metaphor. A player who steps on the ball trips and falls headlong. Yes, I say, that's how it looks, doesn't it? No, it is incredible, she says. How did you do this? I don't know. She can hold back no longer. I hear her start to laugh on the other end of the phone. I start to laugh too and fall in love with her again. When we have finished laughing, she says, well, it's funny. That's good. The book should be funny. I'm not sure it should be this funny, I say. And she starts to laugh again. She isn't worried, you see. Unlike me, poor atheist that I am, she has faith. I wait until 11:30 to go to the Best Western bar. Half an hour of speed drinking is all I can take, never mind the addition of potentially lethal moonshine. The bar is more crowded. Several rednecks around Emerson perched around his bar stool. Right next to him is a stocky, grey-bearded man slumped forward on the bar, asleep. His arms are folded in front of him, and his face rests on the surface. His mouth, which is squished out sideways, lies in a small puddle of dribble and emits a steady, restful snore audible above the jukebox. Emerson turns toward me with glazed eyes. Ah, there you are, he says. Got your moonshine, me and my buddy here. He indicates the sleeper. Had to go up the mountain. So, I say, looking at the comatose man, good stuff? Emerson studies his companion for a moment, considering, then looks back at me with his small, hard eyes. It is, he says. Of course, it's different from me. I'm 300 pounds and I can take it. He produces a brown paper bag and slips it to me. I look inside. There's a jam jar in there, about a third full of clear fluid. Let me pay you for this, I suggest. I had to go up the mountain, Emerson repeats with a distant expression. Missed the night's work. But it's okay, you're a good guy. I buy everyone a drink. One of the rednecks, excuse me for saying rednecks, one of the rednecks, Mike, the toughest looking of them all and buzzing with inebriation, asks me what I'm doing in Dayton. I tell him I'm writing a book about the Scopes trial. Shit, he says, drink that moonshine. Here? I ask. No, man, he says irritably, as if I should know the etiquette of moonshine consumption. Take it to the fucking John. I do. I drink. To my surprise, it's excellent. I have friends in New York who will spend $100 for a spindly bottle of grappa. This moonshine is better than any grappa I ever drank. It's smooth and interesting, with a faint car radiator aftertaste. and it's strong. I sit down and take another sip. Even before the liquid touches my lips, the fumes rise up my nose and make my eyes water. Why am I surprised it's so good? I remember a junkie friend of mine responding to an anti-heroin campaign on TV by saying, of course, the one thing they don't tell you is it feels great. Why else would so many people do it? If they just acknowledge that one fact up front, they might get somewhere. Instead, they give you half the truth and leave you to find out the rest for yourself. I recap the contraband and go back into the bar. The mood is different tonight, a slight hint of violence under the raucous good humor. I keep going off the radar. A man I was talking to a minute ago turns and looks at me in surprise. What are you doing here? I'm just here, that's where I am. Well, let me tell you something. If it crawls on its belly, walks or flies, I'll shoot the son of a bitch. Is that so? Yeah, love to hunt. Okay, good. Mike launches into a long story about a Rottweiler and a man named Fluff, pronounced Fluff. Fluff had a beard, though I can't remember why this was relevant, and didn't believe the dog was as tough as everyone said it was. One night in a bar, he brought it a beer and started tormenting it. He kept looking between its leg and slapping it in the balls. Shit, that dog, as true as I tell you, that dog just kept looking over his shoulder like, what's this guy doing? And everybody was telling Fluff to lay off of that dog. But he just kept on with, this ain't no tough dog, and slapping its balls around. And all of a sudden, as God is my witness, that dog turned and done sunk his teeth into Fluff's leg, and we couldn't pull him off. Some bitch took it over the head with bottles and God knows what else. Wouldn't let go. Somebody ran out and grabbed a 2x4 and started whacking it over the head. Shit, Fluff, 18 stitches in the leg. The Lord knows I'm telling the truth. Everyone shakes their head and laughs. Except me, I'm terrified. There's a few moments of nostalgic silence. Then, if there's one thing I'm proud of in my life, says Emerson as the laughter dies down, it's what I did today. I was a pallbearer at a funeral, and the grass was so slick, I thought we was all going to go over. I was on the back like a brake. Everyone falls silent. Fluff is forgotten. Emerson stares at his beer. Federal laws, he says sadly. You can't bury no one on their motorcycle no more. He had a bike, someone asked. He did not, says Emerson. No one says anything for a while, and then another redneck stumbles over and shows me a straight-edge razor he just bought. It's old and rusty, but still sharp. That's a beautiful straight edge, I say, gauging the distance between myself and the door. There's no logic in here. Subjects rise up out of nowhere and disappear halfway through. I never heard so many suicide stories. The best is about a man who shot himself under the chin, blew the top of his head off, and lived. Now he's bald on top because they grafted some of his back onto the top there. That's amazing, I say. What's amazing, asks Mike, who was telling the story. Well, you know, that he blew the top of his head off and lived. I'll tell you what's amazing, says Mike. That evolution bullshit, that's what's amazing. You don't believe that evolution bullshit, do you? Yes, I do, you hillbilly redneck moron. And furthermore, my great-great-grandfather was Charles Darwin, is what I feel like saying. Instead, I shift from one foot to the other and in a low, cowardly voice say, well, you know. You do, he says, grinning ominously. You believe that shit. Well, there does seem to be some evidence, I suggest. Yeah? So how come I ain't never seen no monkeys around here? I ain't never seen no monkeys around here, have you? No? He moves closer. No, I haven't. Okay, then let me ask you something else. If we come from monkeys, how come there's hundreds of monkeys in the world and you don't never see no man come out of one of them? How to begin to answer? Let me buy you a drink, I suggest. Bullshit! That's what evolution is. Bullshit, he insists, grinning at me furiously. You believe in that shit? Oh, God, am I going to be forced on my knees to admit to a literal interpretation of the Bible? Is Fluff to be called to work his magic on my testes? I realize that I'm profoundly and strangely drunk. I skip my eyes toward the barmaid who, mercifully, claps her hands together and says it's time to close. Everyone deflates. Emerson revives the snoring man. He looks around bemused. He has a pleasant, flat face with almond eyes that won't focus. I bid a swift good night and scurry along the wall back to my room, clutching my jar of moonshine.